The call came at 10:17 on a Tuesday. She remembered the time because after she hung up, she looked at the microwave clock, still blinking 12 hours. She had never learned to set it. And then at her wristwatch, which had stopped at 10:17 3 years ago. She had never replaced the battery. Some part of her must have known she was waiting for a day when time would matter again. Mrs. Kowalski, the biopsy came back. The nurse's voice was gentle. Helen Kowalski, 65, retired librarian, no husband, no children, sat on the edge of her bed in a bathrobe that had once been blue and was now the color of a sky before rain. She held the phone to her ear with her shoulder and used both hands to tie the belt of the robe. The belt was frayed at the ends. Stage 4, the nurse said, approximately 3 months. Helen looked at her feet. She was wearing gray sneakers. The left shoelace was untied. She had been meaning to tie it for 3 days. I understand, Helen said. She did not understand. The words were sounds. The sounds arranged themselves into a shape she recognized. 3 months, but the shape had no weight. It floated in the air above her like a balloon she could not reach. The nurse said something about palliative care, about pain management, about a social worker who would call. Helen heard the word social and thought of parties. She had not been to a party since 1986. Mrs. Kowalski, is there anyone I should call for you? Helen looked at her hands. The skin on the back of her left hand was so thin she could see the veins beneath. A map of roads she had never traveled. No, she said, there's no one. She hung up. Helen Kowalski is 65 years old. She lives alone in a small house in the Chicago suburbs. A retired librarian. No husband. No children. She is sitting on the edge of her bed in a faded blue bathrobe, holding a phone that has gone silent, because a biopsy has just told her she will be dead before winter. She sat on the bed for 27 minutes. She knew this because she counted. The second hand on her dead wristwatch had frozen at 10:17, but there was a clock on the wall above the dresser. A cheap thing from a drugstore. The battery was still good. It ticked. 27 minutes. Then she stood up. Her knees cracked. The sound was loud in the quiet room. She walked to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. She drank it standing at the sink, looking out the window at her backyard. The grass needed mowing. The bird feeder was empty. A single brown leaf from last autumn was stuck in the screen. She set the glass down. She walked down the hallway. The carpet was beige and worn. There was a stain near the bathroom door where she had spilled tea in 1994. She had never cleaned it properly. She had told herself she would do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. She opened the bedroom closet. The closet was neat. Blouses on the left, arranged by color. Pants on the right, folded over hangers. Dresses in the middle, 3 of them. All old, all unworn for years. At the back, behind a winter coat she had not worn since 2011, was a package wrapped in yellowed newspaper and tied with kitchen twine. Helen knelt. Her knees complained. She pulled the package out. It was lighter than she remembered. She carried it to the bed and sat down. The twine had been tied in a double knot. She had tied it herself, 37 years ago, in a studio apartment on the north side of the city. Her fingers had been younger then. They had known how to tie knots that held. Now her fingers fumbled. The arthritis made her knuckles ache. She worked the knot with her nails, short, unpolished, practical nails. It took her 4 minutes to loosen the twine. She peeled back the newspaper. The paper tore at the edges. It was brittle, the color of weak tea. Beneath it was a garment bag, clear plastic, yellowed with age. She unzipped the bag. The dress was white, not bright white, not the white of snow or wedding cakes or television commercials. A softer white. The white of old lace. The white of something that had been waiting in the dark for a very long time. She touched it. The lace on the sleeve was soft. She remembered the day she bought it. June 1986. A small shop on Main Street. The seamstress was a woman named Mrs. Carpentier, who smelled like lavender and cheap cigarettes. She had measured Helen's waist with a yellow tape measure. The tape was so old the numbers had almost faded. You have a good figure, Mrs. Carpentier had said. Your husband will cry when he sees you. Fiancé, Helen had wanted to say, but she did not. She just smiled and looked at herself in the mirror. She had been 28 then. Her hair was brown, her skin was smooth. She had not yet learned that tomorrow was not a promise. It was a rumor. Sometimes it turned out to be true, sometimes it did not. The dress had pearl buttons down the back, small ones, dozens of them. She had counted them once in that studio apartment, after she had wrapped the dress in newspaper and tied the twine. She had counted them because she needed something to do with her hands. There were 47 buttons. She had never understood why 47. an odd number, an unwedding number. She did not try to put the dress on. Not that day. She sat on the edge of her bed with the dress spread across her lap. The white fabric glowed in the afternoon light. Her hands rested on the lace. Her hands were old. The dress was not. She thought about Michael. She thought about the last time she saw him. The tailor shop. He stood near the door with his hands in the pockets of his jeans. He was wearing a white t-shirt with a small hole near the collar. She had meant to sew that hole. She had told him she would sew it the night before the wedding. Try it on, he said. Let me see. Tomorrow, she said. You'll see it tomorrow. I want to see it now. It's bad luck. Michael laughed. He had a good laugh. A loud laugh. The kind of laugh that made other people turn their heads. You don't believe in luck. I believe in surprises. He walked over to her. He put his hands on her shoulders. His hands were warm. They were always warm. Even in winter, when the heat in his apartment broke and they slept under 3 blankets, his hands stayed warm. 1 minute, he said. Just walk out and spin around once. Then I'll close my eyes and forget I saw it. Helen shook her head. She was holding the garment bag. The paper crinkled. You can wait 1 more day, she said. Michael kissed her forehead. His lips were dry. He had been chewing on them again. A nervous habit he could never break. You're stubborn, he said. I learned from you. He smiled, but something flickered in his eyes. She saw it. She chose to look away. He let go of her shoulders. Okay, tomorrow then. I'll see you at the church. Don't be late. I won't. He walked out. The bell on the door jingled. Helen watched him through the window. He turned and waved. She waved back. That was the last time she saw him alive. She sat on her bed with the dress in her lap. The afternoon light shifted. The shadows on the carpet grew longer. The clock ticked. She did not cry. She had not cried in 37 years. Not when the phone rang at 6:30 the next morning. Not when Michael's brother told her about the black ice. Not when she went to the funeral home and identified the body. His face was intact, they told her. The accident had not touched his face. He looked like he was sleeping. He looked like he would open his eyes and say, tomorrow. She had not cried at the funeral. She had not gone to the funeral. She had stayed in her studio apartment with the curtains drawn and the dress wrapped in newspaper on the closet floor. She had lain on the bare mattress. She had not made the bed that morning. She had been too excited. She was going to be married. And she had stared at the ceiling for 3 days. Her mother called. Michael's mother called. His brother called. She did not answer. After 3 days, she got up. She made toast. She ate it standing at the counter. Then she changed her name to Helen Kowalski. Because she had already filled out the forms, because she did not know what else to do with the name she had been promised. She never wore the dress. She never threw it away. She moved 3 times. The dress moved with her. Each time she wrapped it in fresh newspaper and tied it with new twine. Each time she put it in the back of the closet and told herself she would deal with it later. 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 Now later had arrived. She folded the dress. The lace rustled. She placed it back in the garment bag. She did not wrap it in newspaper. She did not tie it with twine. She hung it on the front rod of the closet facing outward, where she could see it every time she opened the door. Then she closed the closet and went back to the kitchen. She poured herself a glass of water. She drank it slowly. The sun was lower now. The kitchen was dim. She looked at the calendar on the wall. It still showed last month. She had not turned the page. She reached up and tore off the old month. Beneath it was a photograph of a lighthouse in Maine. She had never been to Maine. Michael had wanted to go. He had talked about it once, in bed, late at night, his warm hand on her stomach. Next summer, he had said. Next summer never came. Helen looked at the lighthouse. Then she turned the calendar to the next month. She had 3 months left, maybe less. She would have to make them count. She woke before sunrise. The clock on the wall said 5:47, but the room was still gray. Helen lay still, listening to her own breathing. The sound was shallow. The sound was wet. She had not noticed it before the diagnosis. Now she noticed everything. The dress hung on the closet door. She had moved it there before bed, white against the dark wood. In the dim light, it looked like a ghost, or like a woman, like someone standing in the corner of her bedroom, watching her sleep. Helen sat up, her joints ached. The arthritis was worse in the morning. She swung her legs over the side of the bed and pressed her feet flat against the carpet. The floor was cold. She did not put on her slippers. She stood, she walked to the closet, she took the dress off the door. The fabric was cool. She carried it to the full-length mirror in the corner. The mirror was old. The silver backing had begun to peel at the edges, so her reflection looked soft, blurred, like a photograph of someone who had died a long time ago. She unzipped the dress. The sound was loud in the quiet room. She stepped out of her pajama bottoms. She pulled her shirt over her head. She stood in her underwear, white cotton bra, beige underpants, both bought at a department store 3 years ago because they were on sale. She picked up the dress. She lifted it over her head. The lace brushed against her ears. The fabric slid down over her shoulders. She pushed her arms through the sleeves. The bodice settled around her ribs. It was too tight. She pulled it down anyway. The fabric caught on her hips. She tugged. It moved. The waist sat too high. She pulled again. The waist dropped an inch. Her fingers found the zipper at the back. She pulled it up. The zipper stopped halfway. She pulled harder. The metal teeth would not move. The fabric was caught. She reached behind her back and tried to free it, but her fingers were thick, clumsy, old. She could not reach the place where the fabric had bunched. She lowered her arms. She stood in front of the mirror. The dress was half on. The bodice was twisted. The waist was crooked. The back gaped open, showing her bra strap and the pale ridge of her spine. Her hair was flat on one side. Her face was puffy from sleep. She looked ridiculous. She tried to take the dress off. It would not come. The fabric had twisted around her shoulders. The lace caught on her elbows. She pulled harder. Her shoulder popped. A sharp pain shot down her arm. "Come on," she said. Her voice was rough. She had not spoken out loud since yesterday, when she told the nurse there was no one to call. She twisted her body. The dress twisted with her. She was trapped. She was a woman in a wedding dress in her own bedroom, and she could not get it off. And she could not get it on, and she was stuck somewhere in between. She stopped moving. She stood still in front of the mirror. Her breath came fast. Her face was hot. Sweat had begun to form on her upper lip. "This is how you die," she thought. "Not from cancer, from a dress. From a stupid dress you bought 37 years ago and never wore." She almost laughed. The laugh caught in her throat and turned into something else. A sound she had not made in 37 years. A sound that started in her chest and moved up through her throat and came out of her mouth before she could stop it. She was crying. She had forgotten what it felt like. The tears were hot. They ran down her cheeks and dripped onto the white lace. Her nose ran, her chin trembled, her whole body shook. She stood in the twisted dress and cried. She cried for Michael, for the wedding that never happened, for the dress she had kept like a relic, like a bone, like something that would bring him back if she held on to it long enough. She cried for the 37 years of silence, for the dinners she ate alone, for the bed she slept in alone, for the phone that never rang, for the name she had taken anyway. Kowalski, a name that belonged to a man who had never seen her in this dress. She cried until her head hurt, until her eyes were swollen, until her throat was raw and her chest ached, and she could not tell where the crying ended and the cancer began. Then she pulled the dress off. It came off easily this time. She did not know why. Maybe the fabric had stretched. Maybe she had stopped fighting it. She let it fall to the floor. The white lace pooled at her feet like melted snow. She stepped out of it. She picked it up. She hung it back on the closet door. Then she sat down on the edge of her bed and put her head in her hands. Someone knocked on the front door. Helen did not move. The knock came again, 3 quick raps. "Helen, it's Linda. You up?" Linda, her neighbor from next door. They had lived next to each other for 11 years. Linda brought casseroles. Linda knew everyone's business. Linda had never seen Helen cry. Helen stood up. Her face was wet. Her eyes were red. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. She pulled her bathrobe off the hook on the back of the door and put it on. She tied the belt. She walked to the front door. Her legs felt strange, like they belonged to someone else. She opened the door. Linda stood on the porch holding a white paper bag. She was wearing a yellow jacket and jeans. Her hair was dyed blonde and curled tight. She was 62 but looked younger. She smiled when she saw Helen. Then the smile faded. "Helen, you look terrible." "Good morning to you too." Linda stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. That was how Linda was. She walked straight to the kitchen and put the paper bag on the counter. "I brought banana bread," she said. "My sister's recipe. I heard about your diagnosis. Gladys told everyone. You know how Gladys talks." Helen closed the front door. She leaned against it for a moment. Her heart was still pounding. "Thank you," she said. That's very kind." Linda turned around. She looked at Helen, really looked. Her eyes went from Helen's face to her bathrobe to her bare feet. "Have you been crying?" "No. Your eyes are red." "I didn't sleep well." Linda nodded. She did not push. She opened a cabinet and took out 2 plates. She cut 2 slices of banana bread and put one on each plate. "Sit," she said. "Eat." Helen sat down at the kitchen table. Her hands were trembling. She put them in her lap. Linda sat across from her. She pushed the plate toward Helen. The banana bread smelled like cinnamon. Have you thought about what you're going to do? Linda asked. Treatment, I mean. The doctor said it's too late. They can only make me comfortable. Linda's face changed. Her eyes got shiny. She looked down at the table. I'm sorry, Helen. It's fine. It's not fine. It's terrible. Helen picked up the banana bread and took a bite. She did not taste it. She chewed and swallowed. Linda ate her slice in silence. Then she stood up and poured 2 cups of coffee. She put one in front of Helen. If you need anything, Linda said, I'm next door. Day or night, groceries, rides, company, anything. Helen nodded. She took a sip of coffee. The heat burned her tongue. She liked the burn. Linda looked toward the hallway. Her eyes caught something. Helen followed her gaze. The bedroom door was open. Through the doorway, she could see the closet. The dress hung on the outside of the door, white against the dark wood. What's that? Linda asked. In your room. Helen's stomach dropped. Nothing. It looks white, like a wedding dress. Helen stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. She walked to the bedroom door and closed it. She leaned against the door frame. It's nothing, she said. Her voice was too sharp. Linda looked at her for a long moment. Then she stood up. She picked up her coffee cup and rinsed it in the sink. Okay, Helen, I should go. You need rest. Thank you for the bread. Linda walked to the front door. She put her hand on the doorknob. Then she turned around. You know you can talk to me, right? About anything. I won't tell. Helen forced a smile. Her face felt stiff. I know. Linda opened the door. She stepped outside. Then she turned back one more time. I've lived next to you for 11 years, Linda said quietly. And I still don't know anything about you. Not really. She closed the door before Helen could answer. Helen stood in the living room. The clock ticked. The coffee grew cold. She looked at the closed bedroom door. 11 years, she thought. 11 years, and Linda has never seen inside that closet. She walked to the bedroom. She opened the door. The dress hung where she had left it. White, lace, pearl buttons. The morning light fell across it. The fabric glowed. Helen touched the sleeve. The lace was soft. She thought about Linda's face when she asked, What's that? She thought about the answer she had given. Nothing. But it was not nothing. It was everything. It was the last 37 years of her life, folded and pressed and hung on a door. She pulled the dress off the hook. She carried it to the closet. She opened the closet door. She reached past her winter coats to the back corner. The newspaper was still there. The twine was still there. She wrapped the dress in the newspaper. She tied the twine around it. She put it back in the corner. She closed the closet door. She sat down on the bed. The mattress creaked under her weight. She looked at her hands. The veins were blue under the thin skin. Not today, she said to herself. She lay down. She pulled her knees up toward her chest. The morning light fell across her face. She closed her eyes. She did not move for a long time. She wore the same bathrobe for 3 days. She did not leave the house. She did not answer the phone. She ate toast and drank tea and watched the light move across the living room floor. The dress stayed in the closet, wrapped in newspaper, tied with twine. On the 3rd day, Linda knocked again. Helen did not answer. Linda knocked again. Then Helen heard the sound of a key turning in the lock. She had forgotten she had given Linda a key. She had given it to her years ago, after Linda's husband died, in case of emergency. Linda walked in carrying a plastic container. She was wearing the same yellow jacket. Helen, I can see you sitting on the couch. Don't pretend you're not here. Helen did not move. Linda walked over and stood in front of her. You haven't answered your phone in 3 days. I haven't heard it ring. Because you unplugged it. Helen looked at the wall. The phone was indeed unplugged. She did not remember doing that. Linda sat down on the couch next to her. She set the plastic container on the coffee table. I brought soup, she said. Chicken noodle. You need to eat. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. Helen looked at Linda. Linda looked back. There was no pity in her eyes. There was something else, something harder, something like patience. Why are you here? Helen asked. Because you're my neighbor, because you're dying, because you have a wedding dress in your closet and you've never told anyone about it. Helen's breath caught. Linda leaned back against the couch. I saw it, Helen, through the bedroom door, before you closed it. I saw it hanging on the closet door. Helen said nothing. I've been thinking about it for 3 days, Linda said. A wedding dress in your closet. You've lived next to me for 11 years, and I've never seen a man come to your door. I've never heard you talk about a husband. I've never heard you talk about anyone. Helen stared at her hands. So I did some digging, Linda continued. I looked you up, online. You changed your name to Kowalski. But before that, you were Helen Barrett. And in 1986, a Helen Barrett was supposed to marry a Michael Kowalski. He died in a car accident the day before the wedding. Helen closed her eyes. I'm sorry, Linda said. I shouldn't have looked, but you wouldn't talk to me, and I needed to understand. The room was quiet. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. 37 years, Helen said. Her voice was barely a whisper. I've kept that dress for 37 years. Why? Helen opened her eyes. She looked at the window. The afternoon light was gray. It was going to rain. Because he asked to see it, she said. The day before the wedding. We were at the tailor shop. He asked me to put it on just for him to see, just for a minute. She stopped, her throat closed. And I said no. She told Linda everything. She told her about the tailor shop, about Mrs. Carpentier, who smelled like lavender and cigarettes, about the wooden box she had stood on while the hem was pinned, about Michael's hands in his pockets, about the white t-shirt with the hole near the collar. She told her about the drive home, about the phone call at 6:30 in the morning, about Michael's brother's voice, thick and strange, saying the words black ice and died instantly. She told her about the 3 days on the mattress, about the funeral she did not attend, about the name she took anyway. She told her about the dress, how she had moved it 3 times, how she had never worn it, how she had told herself she would deal with it later, how later had never come. She told her about trying to put it on, about the zipper that would not move, about the tears she had not cried in 37 years. When she finished, her throat was raw, her face was wet, her nose was running. She did not wipe it. Linda sat beside her. She did not say, "It's okay." She did not say, "You're not stupid." She did not say any of the things people say when they do not know what else to say. She just sat there. After a long time, she spoke. "Do you want to wear it now?" Helen looked at her. "What?" "The dress. Do you want to wear it? Not for him. He's gone for you." Helen shook her head. I tried. I couldn't. The zipper won't close. It doesn't fit anymore." "So?" Linda shrugged. "I have safety pins. I have a sewing kit. And I have 2 hands that still work. Do you want to wear it or not?" Helen stared at her. "You would help me? I've been your neighbor for 11 years. You've never asked me for anything. Not once. Not even a cup of sugar. Let me help you with this." Helen looked down at her bathrobe. The fabric was thin. The color was gone. She had been wearing the same robe for 3 days. She had not brushed her hair. She had not brushed her teeth. "I look terrible," she said. "So, you're not marrying anyone. You're just putting on a dress." Helen almost smiled. Almost. "What if I put it on and I still feel nothing?" she asked. Linda stood up. She walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer where Helen kept the scissors. She came back with a pair of orange-handled shears. "Then you feel nothing," she said. "At least you'll know." She held out her hand. Helen looked at the hand. Linda's hand. The fingers were short. The nails were unpainted. There was a small scar on the thumb from a gardening accident. Helen took the hand. She stood up. "Okay," she said. "Okay," Linda said. They walked to the bedroom together. Linda opened the bedroom door. The room was dim. Helen had not opened the curtains in 3 days. The only light came from the hallway, a thin yellow rectangle that fell across the carpet. Linda walked to the window and pulled the curtains apart. The afternoon light flooded in. It was gray and soft. The sky was the color of old sheets. "The dress," Linda said. "Where is it?" Helen pointed to the closet. Linda walked over and opened the door. She knelt. She reached past the winter coats to the back corner. Her fingers found the newspaper package. She pulled it out. The twine had come loose. She carried the package to the bed. She set it down. She looked at Helen. "You're sure?" Helen nodded. She could not speak. Her throat was tight. Linda unwrapped the newspaper. The paper tore in 3 places. She pulled out the dress. The white fabric caught the light. The lace looked almost blue in the gray afternoon. She held it up by the shoulders. The skirt fell open. The sleeves hung down. "It's beautiful," Linda said. Helen looked at the dress. She had not seen it unwrapped in 3 years, not since the last time she moved. She had forgotten how the lace caught the light, how the pearl buttons glowed, how the fabric moved when you held it up, like water, like something alive. "Take off your robe," Linda said. Helen untied the belt. The robe slid off her shoulders. She let it fall to the floor. She stood in her bra and underwear. Her arms were pale. Her shoulders were rounded. The skin on her chest had brown spots. She did not look at the mirror. Linda held the dress open. "Arms up!" Helen raised her arms. Her shoulders ached. Linda lowered the dress over her head. The lace brushed against Helen's face. It smelled like old paper and dust. She pushed her arms through the sleeves. The fabric slid down over her shoulders. Linda stepped back. The dress was on Helen's body, but it was not on right. The waist was too high. The zipper was open in the back. The fabric bunched around Helen's hips. "Turn around," Linda said. Helen turned. Her bare feet made no sound on the carpet. Linda looked at the zipper. She touched the metal tab. The fabric is caught in the teeth. I know. Linda worked the zipper gently. She pulled the fabric free. The metal moved a little. She stopped. You're shaking, Linda said. I know. Are you cold? No. Are you scared? Helen closed her eyes. Yes. Linda put her hand on Helen's bare shoulder. Her hand was warm. The warmth spread across Helen's skin. I'm right here, Linda said. You're not alone. Helen opened her eyes. Her vision was blurry. She was crying again. She had not felt the tears start. Linda worked the zipper. She pulled it up 1 inch, then another. The metal teeth caught. She pulled harder. The zipper moved. Breathe, Linda said. Helen took a breath. The dress was tight around her ribs. She could feel each breath pressing against the fabric. Linda pulled the zipper up to Helen's shoulder blades. Halfway. She stopped. The waist is too high, Linda said. We need to pull the dress down. Can you pull it down from the front? Helen put her hands on the bodice. She pulled. The dress did not move. The fabric was tight. Harder, Linda said. She pulled harder. The fabric stretched. It moved down 1 inch, then another. The waist settled around her natural waist. The bodice fit better. Linda pulled the zipper again, up to Helen's shoulders, then to her neck. The zipper closed. The dress was on. Helen stood in the middle of the bedroom. The gray light fell across her. The white fabric glowed. She could not breathe. Not because the dress was tight. It was tight, but she could breathe. She could not breathe because something was happening in her chest. Something that was not the cancer. Something that felt like a fist opening. Something that felt like a door she had kept closed for 37 years, swinging open. Okay, Linda said. She stepped back. Now the mirror. Helen did not move. She stood frozen. Her hands hung at her sides. Her fingers touched the lace of the skirt. Not yet, Helen said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Just let me stand here first. Linda nodded. She sat down on the edge of the bed. She folded her hands in her lap. She waited. Helen looked down at the dress. She saw the lace on the bodice, the small pearl buttons running down the back, the way the fabric gathered at the waist. She touched the skirt. The fabric was cool and smooth. She remembered Mrs. Carpentier, the yellow tape measure, the pins in her mouth. Your husband will cry when he sees you. She remembered Michael, his hands in his pockets, his smile, the disappointment in his eyes that she had pretended not to see. You can wait one more day. 37 years. She had made him wait 37 years, and now she was wearing it. Not for him. He was gone. For herself. For the 28-year-old girl who had stood on a wooden box and believed in tomorrow. Helen took a breath. The breath filled her lungs. The pressure under her ribs shifted. She took another breath. Okay, she said. I'm ready. She turned to face the mirror. The woman in the mirror was 65 years old. Her hair was gray at the roots. Her face had wrinkles around her eyes and mouth. Her skin was pale. Her shoulders were rounded. Her arms were thin. Her neck had begun to sag. She was wearing a wedding dress. The dress did not fit the way it had fit in 1986. The waist was tight. The bodice was loose. The hem touched the floor in some places and hovered above it in others. The lace sleeves were snug around her upper arms, but she was wearing it. After 37 years, she was wearing the dress. Helen lifted her hand. She touched the lace at her throat. Her fingers were shaking. The mirror showed her every tremor. The woman in the mirror looked scared. She looked old. She looked tired. But she was wearing the dress. Helen started to cry. Not the loud sobs from before. Quiet tears that ran down her cheeks and dripped onto the white lace. She did not wipe them away. She let them fall. Linda stood up from the bed. She walked over and stood next to Helen. She looked at the mirror. She looked at Helen. You're beautiful, Linda said. Helen shook her head. I'm old. You're beautiful, Linda said again. You've always been beautiful. You just never let anyone see. Helen looked at herself in the mirror. The woman in the dress was crying. Her lipstick was gone. Her hair was flat. The dress was wrinkled from being in the closet for 37 years. But something was different. Something had changed. The woman in the mirror was not hiding anymore. I waited too long, Helen whispered. No, Linda said. You waited exactly as long as you needed to. Helen put her hand over her mouth. The tears kept coming. Her shoulders shook. Her whole body trembled. Linda put her arm around Helen's waist. She held her steady. I can't breathe, Helen said. Yes, you can. You are breathing. Feel it. Helen felt her chest rise and fall. The pressure was still there. The cancer was still there. The 3 months were still ticking away. But the dress was on. She had done it. She had finally done it. Helen stood in front of the mirror for a long time. The gray light shifted. The clouds outside the window moved. Linda stayed beside her, her arm around Helen's waist, her hand warm against Helen's side. Do you want to take it off now? Linda asked. Helen shook her head. Oh, not yet. Okay, I want to remember this. You will. Helen looked at herself one more time. The woman in the mirror looked back. An old woman in a wedding dress. Gray hair, wrinkles, tears. But she was not running away. She was standing still. Thank you, Helen said. Her voice was quiet. Linda squeezed her waist. You're welcome. Thank you for not letting me stop. Linda smiled. You didn't want to stop. You just wanted someone to tell you it was okay to keep going. Helen nodded. She looked at the mirror again. I should have said yes, Helen said. 37 years ago, in that shop. I should have put on the dress and walked out and let him see me. You didn't, Linda said. But you're saying yes now. Helen touched the lace on her sleeve. The fabric was soft under her fingers. Yeah, she said. I'm saying yes now. She took a deep breath. The dress rose and fell with her chest. The fabric rustled. She closed her eyes. For one moment, just one moment, she was 28 years old again. She was standing in a tailor shop on Main Street. Michael was standing by the door with his hands in his pockets. He was smiling. Let me see, he said. And she said yes. She opened her eyes. The bedroom was quiet. Linda was still beside her. The gray light was still falling across the carpet. Helen looked at herself in the mirror one last time. Then she smiled. Chapter 5. She wore the dress for the rest of the afternoon. Linda made tea. They drank it in the living room. Helen sat on the couch with the white fabric spread around her like a cloud. The lace touched the carpet. She did not care. I'm spilling, Helen said. A drop of tea had fallen on the bodice. The white fabric turned brown where the liquid touched it. It's okay, Linda said. It's stained. It's a dress, Helen, not a museum. Helen looked at the stain. It was small. It looked like a freckle on white skin. She touched it with her finger. I spent 37 years keeping this dress perfect, she said. And now I spilled tea on it in 10 minutes. Linda shrugged. Maybe that's the point. What point? That it was never about the dress. It was about you. The dress was just something to hide behind. Helen looked at the stain again. Then she looked at her tea. Then she looked at Linda. I think you're right, she said. She took another sip. The afternoon light faded. The room grew dim. Linda turned on a lamp. The light was yellow and soft. It made the dress look warm. Helen had not taken it off. She had worn it through tea. She had worn it through a trip to the bathroom. Linda had helped her lift the skirt. She had worn it while Linda made toast in the kitchen. She had worn it while they sat in silence, listening to the clock tick. What are you thinking about? Linda asked. Helen was quiet for a moment. She was looking at the window. The glass was dark now. She could see her reflection. A woman in white. A ghost. I'm thinking about Michael, she said. About the last time I saw him, the tailor shop. What about it? I keep thinking about what I would say to him now. If I could go back. If I could stand in that shop again. Linda waited. Helen touched the lace on her sleeve. I would say yes. I would put on the dress. I would walk out and spin around and let him see me. And then I would tell him that I love him. Not because I was about to marry him. Just because. Because he was standing there, because he was alive, because his hands were warm. Her voice cracked. She pressed her lips together. But I can't go back, she said. No one can go back. Linda reached over and took her hand. No, but you can go forward. Helen looked at her. Forward where? I have 3 months. Forward to the cemetery. Forward to the grave you've never visited. Forward to whatever comes next. Helen pulled her hand away. She stood up. The dress rustled. She walked to the window and looked out at the dark. I've never been to his grave, she said. Not once, in 37 years. I know. How do you know? Because you would have told me. Because you would have come home with red eyes. Because you would have said something. You don't keep something like that a secret, unless you've never done it. Helen pressed her forehead against the cold glass. I was going to go, every year, on the anniversary. I told myself I would go when I was ready. But I was never ready. And now, Helen turned around. The dress swirled around her legs. She looked at Linda. The lamplight made her face look old. The wrinkles were deep. The shadows were dark. Now I'm out of time, she said. Linda stood up. She walked to Helen and put her hands on her shoulders, the same way Michael had done, 37 years ago. The same gesture, the same warmth. Then go tomorrow, Linda said. I'll drive you. Helen shook her head. I can't. You can. You already put on the dress. The hardest part is over. Helen looked down at the white fabric. The tea stain was still there. The wrinkles were still there. The dress was not perfect anymore. Okay, she said. Tomorrow. She slept in the dress that night. Linda had offered to help her take it off. Helen refused. She lay down on top of the covers, still wearing the white lace, and pulled a blanket over her legs. The fabric bunched under her. The pearl buttons pressed into her back. She did not care. She closed her eyes. She dreamed of the tailor shop. Mrs. Carpentier was there, pinning the hem. Michael was there, standing by the door with his hands in his pockets. He was wearing the white t-shirt with the hole near the collar. "Try it on," he said. Let me see." Helen looked down at herself. She was wearing the dress. The white fabric glowed. The lace was soft. The pearl buttons were fastened. "Okay," she said. "I'm ready." She walked toward him. The dress swished around her legs. She held out her hands. He took them. His hands were warm. "I'm sorry," she said. "No, I'm sorry I made you wait." He smiled. His smile was the same. The same smile from 1986. The same smile she had seen through the window of the tailor shop just before he waved goodbye. "It's okay," he said. "You're here now." She woke up. The bedroom was gray. The morning light was coming through the curtains. The dress was still on her body. The lace was wrinkled. The tea stain was still there. She was crying, but she was smiling too. Linda arrived at 9 o'clock. She was wearing black pants and a black sweater. She had a map in her hand. "I printed directions," she said. "St. Mary's Cemetery on Ridgeland." Helen was standing in the living room. She was still wearing the dress. She had brushed her hair. She had put on lipstick. The lipstick was old. It smelled like wax. "You're wearing the dress to the cemetery?" Linda asked. "Yes. In November, it's cold outside." Helen picked up her coat. It was a gray wool coat. She had bought it 10 years ago. She put it on over the dress. The white lace peeked out from the collar and the hem. "I don't care about the cold," Helen said. Linda looked at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, let's go." The drive took 15 minutes. Linda drove slowly. The roads were wet from rain the night before. The sky was gray, but not dark. The sun was trying to come through the clouds. Helen sat in the passenger seat. The dress filled the space around her. The white fabric looked strange against the gray car interior. She had brought a scarf, but did not put it on. She wanted to feel the cold. Linda parked near the cemetery gate. The gate was made of black iron. It was old. The paint was peeling. Beyond the gate, the gravestones stretched out in rows. Some were tall and white. Some were small and gray. Some were so old the names had worn away. "I'll wait here," Linda said. She stayed in the driver's seat. "Take your time." Helen got out of the car. The cold hit her face. The wind was sharp. It cut through her coat and through the lace. She did not shiver. She walked through the gate. The grass was wet. Her shoes made a soft sound against it. The hem of the dress touched the ground and soaked up the water. She did not care. She had looked up the location before they left. Section C, row 12, plot 37. She had written it on a piece of paper. The paper was in her pocket. She pulled it out and read it. Then she walked. Section C was at the back of the cemetery, near the fence. The gravestones there were newer. She walked past rows of names. Some had flowers, some had flags, some had nothing but grass growing over them. Row 12, she turned left. Plot 37. She stopped. The gravestone was gray granite. It was simple, no decoration, just his name and the dates. Michael Thomas Kowalski, 1960, 1986. Beloved son and brother. Not husband, not fiancé, son and brother. That was how his family had seen him. Not how she had seen him. To her, he was everything. Helen stood in front of the grave. The wind blew. The lace moved against her arms. The hem of the dress was wet and heavy. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times. In her imagination, she was younger. In her imagination, she was braver. In her imagination, she knew what to say. But she was not younger. She was not brave. And she did not know what to say. So she just stood there. The wind blew again. A bird called out from somewhere. The clouds moved across the sky. Helen looked at the name on the stone. Michael. She had not said his name out loud in years. Not to anyone. Not even to herself. Not really. She had thought it, but she had not spoken it. "Michael," she said. Her voice was small. The wind carried it away. "Michael," she said again, louder. The word hung in the air. It felt strange in her mouth. Like a word from a language she used to know but had forgotten. She knelt down. The grass was wet. The water soaked through the dress into her knees. The cold seeped into her bones. She did not care. She reached out and touched the gravestone. The granite was cold and rough. The letters were carved deep. She traced them with her finger. Michael. "I kept the dress," she said. "I kept it all these years, in the closet, wrapped in newspaper. I told myself I was keeping it safe, but I was keeping myself safe. The dress was a wall between me and this day." She put her other hand on the stone. Both hands now. The cold went through her palms. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry I didn't let you see the dress." The tears came. They ran down her face and dripped onto the stone. I'm sorry I was too scared to come to your funeral. Your mother needed me. Your brother needed me. And I wasn't there. I was lying on the floor of my apartment with the curtains closed, and I wasn't there. She lifted her head. She looked at the name on the stone. I'm sorry I waited 37 years to say goodbye. She sat back on her heels. The dress spread out around her on the grass. The white fabric was wet and dirty. The lace was soaked. She did not care. You asked me to put it on, she said. In the tailor shop. You asked me to walk out and let you see. And I said no. I said tomorrow. I said you could wait. She touched the stone again. Her fingers were cold. I should have said yes. I should have put on the dress and walked out and let you see me. 1 minute. That's all you wanted. 1 minute. And I couldn't give it to you. Her voice broke. She stopped. She took a breath. The pressure under her ribs was there. It was always there now. I'm saying yes now, she said. 37 years late. But I'm here. I'm wearing the dress. I'm wearing it for you. She looked down at herself. The white lace, the pearl buttons, the wet hem, the tea stain on the bodice. It doesn't fit, and she said, I'm old now. My body's different, but I'm wearing it. I finally put it on. She looked back at the stone. Do you remember the shop, Mrs. Carpentier? She smelled like lavender and cigarettes. You stood by the door with your hands in your pockets. You were wearing that white t-shirt, the one with the small hole near the collar. She smiled. The smile felt strange on her face. She had not smiled in a long time. I loved you, she said. I loved you so much. And I was so scared of losing you that I wasted the time we had. I said no to things I should have said yes to. I waited for tomorrow when I should have taken today. She wiped her face with her hand. The tears kept coming. I don't have tomorrow anymore, she said. The doctor gave me 3 months, maybe less, so I'm doing all the things I should have done 37 years ago. I'm wearing the dress. I'm saying goodbye. I'm telling you I'm sorry. She leaned forward and pressed her lips against the stone. The granite was cold. It tasted like dust and rain. I'll be okay now, she said. You can go. She sat there for a long time. The wind blew. The clouds moved. The bird kept singing somewhere in the trees. She reached down to the hem of the dress. Her fingers found a loose thread. She pulled it. The thread came free. It was white and thin and long. She held the thread in her hand. Then she laid it on top of the gravestone. The white thread looked like a vein against the gray granite. I kept a piece of you with me for 37 years, she said. Now you keep a piece of me. She stood up, her knees cracked. Her legs were stiff from kneeling. The dress was heavy with water. It clung to her legs. She looked at the grave one more time. Goodbye, Michael. She turned around and walked away. Linda was waiting by the car. She was leaning against the driver's door with her arms crossed. She did not say anything when Helen approached. She just opened the passenger door. Helen got in. The wet dress soaked the seat. Water dripped onto the floor. Linda got in on the other side. She started the engine. She did not ask if Helen was okay. She did not ask what happened. She just drove. The cemetery gate grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Then it disappeared. Helen looked out the window. The houses passed by, the trees, the street signs. The world was still turning. The same world that had kept turning 37 years ago when Michael died. The same world that would keep turning when she died. She put her hand on her chest. The pressure was still there. The cancer was still there. But something else was gone. The words she had never said. The goodbye she had never spoken. The apology she had never given. They were gone now. Left on a gravestone in Section C, Row 12, Plot 37. She had said them. Not perfectly. Not beautifully. Just words. Ordinary words. But they were the right words, and she had said them out loud. Linda pulled into Helen's driveway. She put the car in park. She turned off the engine. They sat in silence for a moment. Do you want help getting out? Linda asked. No, Helen said. I want to sit here for a minute. Linda nodded. She got out of the car. She walked to the front door and unlocked it with the key Helen had given her. Then she went inside and left Helen alone. Helen sat in the car. The dress was cold and wet against her skin. Her knees ached. Her eyes were sore from crying. But she was not sad. She was not happy either. She was something else. Something in between. Something that felt like the moment after a storm, when the rain stops and the air's clean and everything is quiet. She had said goodbye. After 37 years, she had finally said goodbye. Chapter 6. 2 months passed. The cancer spread. Helen stopped leaving the house. Then she stopped leaving her bed. The hospital bed came on a Tuesday. Linda had arranged it. The hospice nurse came 3 times a week. Her name was Carol. She was young, maybe 30, with kind hands and a soft voice. She checked Helen's vitals. She adjusted her medications. She talked to Helen like she was a person, not a patient. Helen's body was smaller now. The weight had fallen off her. Her collarbones stuck out. Her wrists were thin. Her face had hollows where the flesh used to be. But her eyes were clear. The dress hung on the wall across from her bed. Linda had taken it to the dry cleaner. The tea stain was gone. The wrinkles were gone. The white fabric glowed against the pale wall. Helen looked at it every morning. "Still there?" she would say. "Still there," Linda would answer. Linda came every day. Sometimes she stayed for an hour. Sometimes she stayed all day. She brought groceries. She cooked meals that Helen could not eat. She sat in the chair by the window and read aloud from library books. "Read something happy," Helen said one afternoon. Linda picked up a different book. She read a chapter about a dog who found his way home. Helen smiled. The smile was weak, but real. "Michael had a dog," Helen said. "A golden retriever named Buddy. The dog died 2 years before Michael did. Michael cried for a week." "You never told me that," Linda said. "There's a lot you don't know. So tell me." Helen was quiet for a moment. She looked at the dress on the wall. "He was bad at cooking," she said. "Burned everything. Eggs, toast, even soup. He burned soup once. I didn't know you could burn soup, but he did." Linda laughed. Helen laughed too. The laugh turned into a cough. The cough lasted a long time. Linda held her hand until it stopped. "He had a terrible singing voice," Helen continued. "But he sang anyway, in the car, in the shower, in the grocery store. He didn't care who heard. He sounds wonderful." He really was. Helen closed her eyes. The afternoon light came through the window. It fell across her face. "I spent 37 years being afraid of a dress," she said. "What a waste." Linda squeezed her hand. "You're not afraid anymore." Helen opened her eyes. "No, I'm just tired." The good kind of tired. They watched old movies on the small TV Linda had moved into the bedroom. Black and white movies, romantic comedies from the 1940s. Helen had seen them all before. She knew the dialogue by heart. "He's going to kiss her now," Helen said during a movie. "How do you know?" "Because I've seen it 12 times. And because he's been looking at her mouth for the last 3 minutes." Linda watched. The man on the screen kissed the woman. Linda laughed. "You were right. I'm always right." "Not always. Remember the time you said it wouldn't snow and we got 14 inches? Helen waved her hand. "That was different. The weatherman lied." They ate ice cream together. Linda brought different flavors each time. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, butter pecan. Helen could only eat a few spoonfuls now. Her stomach could not handle more. But she ate those few spoonfuls slowly, savoring each one. "This is the best part of dying," Helen said one day. "The ice cream." Linda tried to smile. Her eyes were wet. "Don't cry," Helen said. "I'm not crying. You shouldn't either." "I'm not crying?" "You are. I can see you." Linda wiped her eyes. "Okay, I'm crying a little." "Stop it. Save your tears for after I'm gone. Right now, I need you to eat this strawberry ice cream and tell me if you think it's better than the chocolate." Linda took a bite. She pretended to think about it. "Chocolate is better." "Wrong answer. Strawberry is better, but I'll forgive you because you've been a good friend." The hospice nurse came on a Thursday. Carol checked Helen's breathing. She listened to her lungs. She felt her pulse. "Her lungs are filling up," Carol told Linda in the hallway. Linda closed the bedroom door so Helen would not hear. "It won't be long now. A week, maybe less. She won't be in pain. We'll keep her comfortable." Linda nodded. She had known this was coming, but knowing and hearing were different things. "Is there anything she needs?" Linda asked. "Just you. Just keep being here." Linda went back into the bedroom. Helen was awake. Her eyes were on the dress. "What did Carol say?" Helen asked. "She said you're doing well." "Don't lie to me, Linda. I'm dying. I don't need lies. I need the truth." Linda sat down in the chair. She took Helen's hand. "She said it won't be long. A week, maybe less." Helen nodded. Her face did not change. She looked at the dress again. "Good," Helen said. I'm ready." 3 days later, Helen asked Linda to help her sit up. Her body was weak. Her arms could barely lift her. Linda put her hands under Helen's shoulders and pulled her up against the pillows. "The dress," Helen said. "Can you bring it to me?" Linda took the dress off the wall. She carried it to the bed. She laid it across Helen's lap. Helen touched the lace. Her fingers were thin and pale. The white fabric made her skin look almost blue. "When I'm gone," Helen said, "don't burn the dress, don't throw it away, donate it, let someone else wear it. It's waited long enough." Linda's throat tightened. She swallowed hard. "Okay," Linda said, "I'll donate it. Promise me. I promise." Helen looked at the dress. She ran her hand over the bodice. Her fingers found the spot where the tea stain used to be. "I wanted to wear it so badly," Helen said. "For so many years, and when I finally did, it didn't fix anything, but it didn't break anything either. It was just a dress, just a piece of fabric. I gave it all that power and it was just a dress. She looked at Linda. Don't let the next girl wait 37 years. Tell her to put it on. Tell her to wear it and spin around and let everyone see. Tell her tomorrow might not come. Linda could not speak. She just nodded. Helen lay back against the pillows. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes were half closed. I'm tired, she said, the good kind of tired. She put her hand on the dress. Her fingers rested on the white lace. Stay with me, Helen said. I'm not going anywhere, Linda said. Helen died 3 days later. It was a Sunday. The sun was coming through the window. The dress was on the wall across from her bed. Her hand was resting on the fabric. Linda was in the chair. She had been there all night. She woke up when the light changed. She looked at Helen. Helen's eyes were closed. Her chest was still. Linda stood up. She walked to the bed. She put her hand on Helen's wrist. There was no pulse. The skin was cool. Linda stood there for a long time. She did not cry. She just stood with her hand on Helen's wrist, feeling the stillness. Then she looked at the dress. The white fabric glowed in the morning light. The lace was soft. The pearl buttons were small and round. The dress had waited 37 years for Helen to wear it. And Helen had worn it. Not for long, not perfectly, but she had worn it. Linda took the dress off the wall. She folded it carefully. She held it against her chest. I'll keep my promise, Linda said. She looked at Helen's face. I'll find someone who will wear it, someone who won't wait. She left the room. She closed the door behind her. 2 weeks later, Linda walked into a small charity shop on the south side of town. The shop was called Second Chances. It sold used clothes and household items. The money went to a women's shelter. Linda carried the dress in a garment bag. The bag was new. She had bought it the day before. She had cleaned the dress again. It looked perfect. The woman at the counter was in her 50s. She had gray hair and glasses and a name tag that said Marge. Can I help you? Marge asked. Linda set the garment bag on the counter. She unzipped it. She pulled out the dress. The white fabric caught the light. The lace was bright. The pearl buttons glowed. Marge's eyes went wide. Oh my, that's beautiful. It's a wedding dress, Linda said. It's never been worn. Marge touched the lace. Her fingers were gentle. Never? Why not? Linda thought about Helen. She thought about 37 years. She thought about the tailor shop and Michael, and the words that came too late. It's a long story, Linda said, but the woman who owned it wanted someone else to wear it. She said it's waited long enough. Marge looked at the dress. She looked at Linda. Are you sure? This dress is worth money. You could sell it. Linda shook her head. I made a promise. Donate it. Let someone wear it who can't afford a new one. Let someone have their day. Marge nodded. She took the dress and laid it on the counter. She wrote out a receipt. She handed it to Linda. Thank you, Marge said. This will make someone very happy. Linda looked at the dress one more time. The white fabric, the lace, the pearl buttons, the dress that had waited. Someone waited a lifetime to wear this, Linda said. Don't let it wait anymore. She turned around and walked out of the shop. The door closed behind her. The sun was bright, the sky was blue, the air smelled like spring. Linda stood on the sidewalk for a moment. She looked up at the sky. You kept your word, she said. She was talking to Helen. She was talking to herself. She was talking to no one. A bird flew overhead, the wind blew, the trees moved. Linda walked to her car. She got in, she started the engine. She drove home. The dress stayed behind. Inside the shop, Marge hung the dress on a rack near the front window. The white fabric caught the sun. People walking by stopped to look. A young woman pressed her face against the glass. She pointed at the dress. She turned to the man next to her. She was smiling. The dress had waited 37 years. It would not wait much longer.